the idea. So,
Okay,
my daughter, of course, as I already told you, is named after me.
okay.
But anyhow, the minor, of course, and my son's name is, instead of Junior. No, what am I talking about? The minor is in deference to my mother, because her name was Minnie.
Mhm.
So the closest I could think
It was
of
mine.
when I know it was mine.
Interesting.
Anyway, convoluted mind, anyway.
Okay,
So, for menial jobs,
okay.
which I did while married to my husband.
Mhm.
I was with him for 7 years.
7 years.
And it had nothing to do with the 7-year itch.
Mhm.
But after 7 years, there was a parting of the ways.
Okay.
And I realized that I had these 2 children,
Mhm.
that I had to go back to school. Because one has to be able to take care of oneself and one's children,
Okay.
regardless of what should happen to the male.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, he could die, whatever, you know. I mean, he could be rich today, poor tomorrow, you know. You gotta be able to take care of yourself
Okay.
and whatever you produce.
Okay.
With that thought in mind, I had made a plan. I needed to go back to school.
Mhm.
They wanted to give me scholarships. Everybody wanted to give me money to go back to school. Those were the days when the dollars were flowing, you know.
Okay.
And they were giving you scholarships to go to Harvard or wherever, Yale or wherever. You
Mhm.
had the GPA to go, you know.
Mhm.
But I didn't accept them because it's not about having the money to go to school and books.
Mhm.
You have to feed yourself.
Mhm.
You got to pay rent and utilities and you know, all of that stuff. So I had to turn them all down. But
Mhm.
I thought that the most promising place where I could probably find out where, because I knew there had to be programs out there that in addition to scholarship money would also give you a stipend
Okay.
in which to live.
Mhm.
And so I got myself a job at Rutgers School of Law
Okay.
in the office of the black students, okay?
Okay.
Rutgers black students there.
Mhm.
And sure enough, everybody who walked through the door, I would say, do you know of any programs? I don't care who they came to see now, because I was a secretary.
Mhm.
Yeah, I would ask. And sure enough, I asked, and someone did know.
Okay.
And so I had to give up a year of college, though, because it was only for 2 years. You know, if you had gone 2 years and wanted to go to the West. I had gone 3,
Mhm.
but I gave up the 1
Okay.
in order to meet my objective.
Okay.
And so I finished from a college.
Okay.
This will be interesting, possibly for you, which not
Mhm.
everybody knows.
Mhm.
There was a college that I went to, which turned out to be a private college.
Mhm.
It was called Uppsala.
Mhm.
Its origins being from the Uppsala in Sweden,
Mhm.
or Switzerland. It may have been Switzerland, well,
Okay.
but I know it was one of the Scandinavian countries.
Okay.
Switzerland's one. It was located in East Orange, New Jersey.
Okay.
Now, if you don't know, this is Newark,
Mhm.
and this is East Orange, New Jersey.
Okay.
Okay, next door.
Mhm.
The location of the Uppsala College was so insular. It was like this black thing here.
Mhm.
This is the college, and all around that there were only whites who lived
Okay.
there.
Okay.
But after you crossed over the perimeter, now you encountered the black folk.
Okay. Mhm.
Then you encountered African Americans. Bottom line is, there were 30 of us who were
Mhm.
chosen
Okay.
nationwide
Mm.
to begin this program.
Okay.
And it was here, this is interesting too, that the whole idea of goals, objectives, was formulated.
Mhm.
That's where it began, with 3 universities in the college as the guinea pigs.
Okay.
Okay, so we had to teach to that. We learned to teach, but now, of course, it's in business and everywhere else,
Mhm.
right? You go any place you go. What's your 5-year objective? Da, da, da.
Mhm.
You know, what are your goals? How to get tech? You know that.
Okay.
I was with that first group who went through
Okay.
there, and when we hit the campus in Uppsala College, there were 27 of us African Americans,
Mhm.
including one Muslim,
Mhm.
and that was the largest influx of African Americans the college had ever taken in its
Mhm.
entire
Mhm.
history.
Wow.
And it was so amazing to
Mhm.
us
Mhm.
because you had these students, we were all adults, you know. what have
Okay,
you.
okay. So what were your major? You studied?
My education.
Education, okay.
Absolutely,
Wonderful.
education. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But the white students would actually ask us such ridiculous questions of, "Can we touch your hair?" I mean, it was madness to us, you
Mhm.
know. But they got an education, and we got just more awareness, you know. Because
Mhm.
even I didn't know that they were that crazy.
Mhm.
Because I should have said, but yeah, that crazy. Okay, distorted in their thinking is another way you could put it.
Mhm.
Okay, I mean the misconceptions, you know what I mean.
Right.
So in any case, because I wasn't accustomed to that, because I'd interacted with whites ever since I left Tennessee
Mhm.
when I met my husband, because I told you he was a political activist, and
Mhm.
of course we were involved with, you know, primarily Jewish people, but not
Mhm.
all Jewish people,
Mhm.
you know, but I've always been, you know, multicultural experience all my
Okay.
adult life.
Mhm.
So, anyway, I graduated from Uppsala and I didn't take a job as a teacher
Mhm.
because I was offered a far more challenging opportunity.
Okay.
It was with a labor union.
Mm.
It was the biggest hospital, well, I should say health care union in the country.
Okay.
That was $11.99,
Mm.
and I became the training director.
Wow.
No, well, not the director. Well, I was a director in New Jersey, but
Okay.
not the overall
Mhm,
training.
mhm.
And the task was, as $11.99 had won games in their contracts, they had programs where you were entry level, you know, worker. You were janitor or whatever you were. You worked in the cafeteria or
Mhm.
wherever you worked. But you had the opportunity, if you had not graduated high school, to take classes and finish high school.
Okay.
And then go into a number of different specialized areas.
Mm.
Anything respiratory therapy, RN,
Wow.
LPN, even a doctor.
Mm, that's pretty good.
You got that right.
Mhm.
Not only was it good, but they
Mhm.
paid for that
Okay.
whole trade.
Mm.
And also gave you a stipend on which to
Mhm.
live, so
Mhm.
you could continue, you understand.
Okay.
Because they knew it was necessary.
Mhm.
You know, if anything short of that, and you're just talking, blowing smoke out your mouth.
Mhm.
You know, you need all the components to survive
Okay.
and excel.
Mhm.
So what had happened was they had achieved these goals in hospitals in New Jersey.
Mhm.
And this was the first time that activity was going to happen in those New Jersey hospitals.
Okay.
And they needed someone
Mm.
to head that up.
Sound exciting.
Oh, it was. Oh, what a challenge.
Mhm.
Interesting. And so I took it on.
Mhm.
Was very successful
Okay.
at it.
Mhm.
Indeed I was.
How long were you there?
Only 3 years.
Okay.
Because once again I became bored.
Mm.
I did.
Okay.
I became bored.
Mhm.
And so I also had the thought that having a college degree is not sufficient. If one wants to move on, one has to obtain higher levels of academia,
Okay.
those papers.
Mhm.
Not that it has anything to do with your knowledge or ability, you know, anything like that, but
That's
this is
necessary.
what the world accepts.
Mhm.
And so I was going back to obtain that,
Mhm.
another piece of paper.
Mhm.
And so I quit.
Mm.
And everybody thought I was mad
Mhm.
because I was making a very good salary.
Mhm.
Okay. But I had to do it. And so I did. And I did so. And I knew I wanted to go back to school.
Mhm.
But how was I going to do that, you know? financially and otherwise, you know. But I was involved, always have been, of course, with the children and the education and so
Okay.
forth. And there came a time in my son's schooling, he had always been obsessed with learning and reading.
Okay, well, that's a
He
good
would-
thing.
Well, he would read the soles on the bottom of your shoe.
Okay.
If you cross your leg far enough, he'd want to see what
Mhm.
he was reading.
Mhm.
And he had that kind of thirst.
Mhm.
And he had in the beginning, I mean, as we settled out, as I started him on his path, I had gotten him enrolled in the Montessori school.
Okay.
And you know that type
Familiar
of
with that.
education
Mhm.
that can let your mind be free. Okay, and you can progress to it. So he started out there. And it was, you know, what do you call it? He went into, I got him into a school, it was a all white private school, where people with lots of money send their children
Mhm.
in Montclair, New Jersey,
Mhm.
because I know the advantages, and I
Mhm.
thought I knew.
Mhm.
But come to find out, it was like more amazing than I thought.
Mhm.
Okay,
Mhm.
my thinking was here. That's not how they ran that program,
Mhm.
because it's simply a question of indoctrination, brainwashing, and what have you. Actually, what it is, if you get to the bottom line, the same principles that the teachers here in Georgia exemplified.
Really?
They expected the best, and they exposed you to the best of what there was to expect, and so you learn.
Mm.
It became automatic.
Mm.
You amongst your peers.
Mhm.
You all had the same aspiration. That's why all the graduates who come out of Harvard and Yale and all those other places look like cookie cutters.
Mhm.
And if you go to New York City and you go on the west side by the Hudson